So today I'm talking to Ruth Lewis Robertson, who's a nutritional therapist based in Edinburgh. We're going to talk about food and mood. Food is really important to our mood, to how much energy we have, to how we feel about life. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to look at some of the science and also look at lots of practical tips too. Ruth, you're a nutritional therapist, and I know you have a
Mhm.
passionate interest in food and mood. We often think about nutrition therapists as helping people lose weight and stuff like that. But for you, I know the link between food and our emotional health, our mental health is really important.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody knows that nutrition's really important for physical health. But I think that people forget, or maybe they're just not even aware in the first place, that actually nutrition is really important for our mental health as well. When I got into nutrition, that was the area that I wanted to focus on. I think it's a really important area as well because mental health is such a big issue in our society.
If I came to you as a client and said, my mental health isn't very good, I've been, I've been told that food can affect your mood. What sort of advice would you give me?
There's lots of things we can do. It actually does make sense that nutrition does affect our mental well-being because there's so many reasons it can affect it. Most people have heard of serotonin, for example, which is what we call our happy hormone. Um, but I don't know if you're aware, Jane, that actually 95% of serotonin is actually produced in the gut.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, so which is amazing. And there's a huge link between gut health and mental health. Most people are aware that having a healthy microbiome is something that's important, having the good bacteria. But again, I think people associate it with physical health and maybe say digestive health. But actually, when you consider that so much of your serotonin is produced in the gut, then that shows that actually having a healthy microbiome and having good gut health is really important for mental health as well. You know, there's so many things. So like cortisol, for instance, is what we call our stress hormone. And again, people are probably aware that that raises with stressful situations and so on. But actually, again, foods can impact that. So um, things like having sugar and caffeine, that actually raises our cortisol as well. And having things like additives from processed foods, that actually can raise cortisol. There's so many micronutrients, all of vitamins and minerals that are involved in the production of neurotransmitters, so things like serotonin and things like dopamine and GABA. We need lots of different micronutrients in order for the body to produce those. We need adequate protein. We need specific types of protein. So things like tryptophan which is an amino acid. That's the precursor to serotonin. Healthy fat. Our brain is actually 60% fat. We need really good fats. And again, it's the right types of fats. So it's not just any fat, but it's good
Yeah.
fats. So to answer your question about uh, what's one thing that people could do, because obviously that's getting a little bit complicated. And these are all the sorts of things that I would do with my clients. So sort of look at, are they getting the right micronutrients? Are they getting the right macronutrients, adequate protein and so on? Fiber for gut health, there's so many things. But yeah, if people just want to do one thing, I would say the most important thing to do would be, as best as possible, to replace processed foods with whole foods. So just having a whole foods diet can make a really big difference because, even if you're not going to get into all the science of the specific micronutrients and the specific, how much protein do we need and so on, if you're having a whole foods diet based on just good quality vegetables, whole grains, just actual real food rather than food from packets, then you're naturally going to be getting a lot of that nutrition. Whereas processed foods, and it's something that's in the media, a lot at the moment is the problem what we call ultra processed food. It's for a reason because they are really harmful. They're very often pretty much devoid of nutrition.
Yeah.
They cause problems because they've got high levels of sugar. They've got the wrong types of fats. So they've not got the nice brain supportive fats that we actually need, but they've got the harmful types. They've got the wrong types of carbohydrates, the type that spike your blood sugar levels, which leads to that cortisol rise and the stress response. High amounts of salt very often, which whacks out other minerals, which causes problems. So instead of providing all those amazing nutrients that our body needs, they actually take nutrients to process because, anything you eat has to go through a digestive process, which actually takes nutrients. So if you're eating something that doesn't actually also provide those nutrients, then it's basically a net loss. So
Yeah.
that's one way to think about it.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Because people say, oh, a whole food diet would be awful. It would make me so unhappy. I love eating burgers. Eating burgers makes me happy. Going to McDonald's, going to KFC or whatever, or eating chocolate or eating ice cream or cookies or all this stuff. This makes me happy. And what you're asking me to do is to change to a whole food diet, and that's going to make me unhappy. But what you're saying, and it's so backed up by research, is that actually a whole food diet is almost certainly, maybe not immediately, but in the long run is going to make you a lot happier and healthier. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you eat these kind of ultra processed foods, they're designed to give you that dopamine reward that we're looking for. And that's why they're actually really addictive. But actually, as you say, that's exactly it in the long run. And it's not even a very long run, actually, in quite a short space of time. It's actually going to make you feel worse. I quite like going out and having one of these vegan burgers. They're not healthy, but now and then I'll have one. But I notice the effect the next day when you're used to having a whole foods diet based on all those good, nutritious things. Then you do notice the effect when you have a day where you're not eating those things. Chances are the next day you won't be feeling so good, and maybe you will be feeling a bit more down than usual or whatever. And it does make a difference.
You're talking about the gut and how important gut health is, and that's very clear. And like so much of this, it actually feeds our mental health, our emotional health, our physical health, which is completely unlike what antidepressants do and medication generally. Medication generally is targeted at a specific problem, but actually changing your diet is much more, is a very holistic approach to you and your well-being.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's exactly what nutritional therapy is all about. So I'm a naturopathic nutritional therapist and I'm a health coach. Nutritional therapy is all about exactly what you've just said. It's about a holistic approach. It's about getting the body to heal itself naturally through the right nutrition, sometimes supplements where required, sometimes some lifestyle changes. But yeah, it's about that kind of natural approach. It's about getting to the root cause of a problem. And it's also about prevention as well. So things like healthy aging, I know you're really interested in as well.
I was talking to somebody recently who said it takes about 21 days to change your gut biome, through dietary change. Would you agree with that? Does it vary a lot from person to person, do you think?
I'm not too sure, actually. I have actually read studies that suggested, if I remember rightly, that it could even be quicker than that. So it can actually happen quite quickly, maybe even in like a week or so. But yeah, it's something you need to keep up. And it's about, I guess the other thing that it's about is it's not about a crash diet because they never work.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other kind of topic that we could discuss another time. It's about making long lasting changes. And as you say, that will actually improve your well-being. It's exactly what you say, that people think, oh, well, I want to enjoy my life, so I want to eat all this junk food. But actually, that's not going to make you happy. And the chances are it's not. And if people are eating that sort of thing, if they just stop and reflect and think, well, am I happy? Is this working for me? And chances are it isn't.
Yeah, I mean, the modern diet leads to yo-yoing blood sugar levels. I remember when I didn't have my own diet under control, and I remember I'd get sort of sometimes quite trembly and
Yeah.
a little bit panicky, not full-blown panics, but a little bit panicky. Quite my moods would be quite up and down, but as I've moved over to a plant-based whole food diet, I find my moods are much more stable.
Those sort of symptoms of feeling shaky and feeling like you absolutely have to eat something right now, and the mood being unstable, they're all classic symptoms of blood sugar dysregulation. And it happens because people are eating those kind of foods that spike your blood sugar levels, those kind of simple carbohydrates that release sugar very quickly into the blood. And so what we like to call the blood sugar roller coaster. You just feel this constant roller coaster up and down. Whereas having a whole foods diet, nice slow release of carbohydrates, so from whole grains and adequate protein, because protein actually helps to slow the release of sugar into the blood. These are all things that help to keep you stable and just help your mood to be more stable as well.
What sort of things do people come to you for?
The majority are vegans like myself, because I've been a vegan myself for 10 years. And so a lot of my clients come to me because I'm a vegan and because they want to go to somebody who they know will be supportive of
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
their choice to live a vegan lifestyle, because some of them have had maybe not such positive experiences with other health professionals in the past who have maybe not been so supportive. So a lot of them come to me because of that. Nutritional therapy can actually help with any kind of symptoms, anything, digestive issues, arthritis, menopausal issues. So there's a huge range of things. I do notice that regardless of what my clients have come to me with, they very often have some sort of, not necessarily what you might call a serious mental health issue, but issues with low moods, low energy as well is a very common problem. That's something that affects a lot of people. That seemed to be what people were coming with, even if it wasn't the main thing. And, they maybe weren't aware that I could help them with that as well.
You've got a free ebook for people, I think. Tell us about that, will you?
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, if people go over to my website, just scroll down a tiny bit on my homepage, put in your name and email address, and you'll get a copy of my free book, which is all about exactly what we've been talking about. It's about boosting your mood through food. And it's got all my top tips in it. It explains in a bit more detail about the connection between food and mood, tells you what foods to increase, what to reduce, what some of the key nutrients are that I touched on earlier, how to get them, and a few lifestyle tips as well, because that's another thing that I always work on with my clients. People think that nutritional therapy is about food, which obviously that is the number one thing that it's about. But we always talk about lifestyle as well, and improving sleep and that kind of thing. So that's got all my top tips on it, and people can download that for free on my website.
Give me two foods that you think people should increase. Can you do that? I mean, or is there much more variation between people?
Well, if there's one thing that you're going to increase, I think absolutely all of us, me included, could always do with eating more vegetables.
Right.
Vegetables are just the best thing ever. Best thing you can possibly eat for so many reasons. And focusing on mental health, they're a very good source of fiber. So fiber is supportive of the gut.
Yeah.
As I was talking about earlier, the gut's really important in mental health as well as in lots of other areas of health. And they're also a source of lots of different nutrients. So magnesium and folate. These are actually micronutrients that are supportive of mental health as well, because they're involved in the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin. And vegetables are just brilliant. So try and eat as many as you can. Ideally, half your plate should be vegetables. A lot of people say to me, "Oh yes, I eat lots of vegetables," but then when you actually get down to the detail with them, it's like they're having what I would call like a garnish with vegetables. Might
Yes.
have like a couple of sticks of broccoli on the plate, but that's not enough. It should be half your plate. And the other thing is to get as much variety as possible. I like to talk about eating the rainbow, because every different color of vegetables has a different set of nutrients in it, which are all really important, and not just vitamins and minerals, but also what we call phytochemicals. So lots of like really amazing things that do all kinds of amazing things for the body. And if you're getting as many different colors as possible, then that's one way of ensuring a range of nutrients. And then that should give you everything your body needs.
Yeah, I think eating the rainbow is really important. I mean, there's also been research like showing that we should be eating 30 different plants a week. I mean, what's your view on that?
Yeah, I think that's a good one as well. It's a slightly different way of looking at it, because for a long time, we've been told 5 a day and have 5 portions of vegetables a day, or fruit and vegetables a day, which, by the way, I would say to have more than that. I try and encourage my clients to have more like 8 a day, and to focus on vegetables rather than fruit.
I saw some comment quite a long time ago, just after the 5 a day came out, which said that the scientists agreed that actually people needed to eat a lot more than that. But they felt that if they said 8 or 10 portions a day, people would go, oh, I can't do that. And I wouldn't do anything. And so by setting it at 5, they thought this was actually doable for people.
That's very true. Yeah, no, I heard that as well. And yeah, it's quite interesting. I think my clients can do better. Obviously, everyone's starting at a different point. So
Yeah.
if you can eat 5 a day, that's absolutely brilliant. And just depends on your starting point. And that's why I say I think all of us can do with just eating more vegetables. So if you only eat 1 a day just now, try and go to 2 a day. If you already eat 5 a day, try and go to 6, maybe 6 or 7, and just try and increase this a bit. I think the variety thing is that's important as well. And that was based on some research that variety is really important for the microbiome.
And it's interesting also that like green apples count as 1 and red apples count as 1 because of that different color, like you were saying, the rainbow and the phytochemicals. So, or green, red, orange peppers again, that they each count as 1 because of the difference in the color and the difference in the nutrition of them. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is actually a useful thing for people to think about, because I think a lot of people maybe get stuck in a rut, me included. We fall back on broccoli quite a lot in my house because we both like broccoli and it's kind of easy. But actually, just trying to mix it up a bit and having different things is really important. Just thinking about what people can do, and trying to have home cooked foods more rather than processed foods. And just to say that I think that can be quite challenging for a lot of people, but actually it doesn't necessarily have to be anything complicated or really time consuming. I know that people are really busy, and I'm really busy as well. And some people, maybe they've never really done much cooking before, but just try and get down to basics and try and simplify things. And I have got some blogs on my website people can look at as well. So I just actually added a new blog at the weekend there called 5 Easy Meal Ideas, which is my personal top 5 kind of go-to things that I fall back on when I'm really, really busy and haven't got time to cook anything elaborate. I've also got a really basic soup recipe on my website. So like homemade soup, something that's really easy to make. And even if you're not used to cooking, I think it's a really good starting point. It's also really cheap as well. It's really nutritious, and it's something that people can start with. They're not that confident with cooking, because you can just chuck absolutely anything in a pot. Just chuck in some dried red lentils, any vegetables you've got lying around, it doesn't matter. Just chuck them in, boil it up with some water, and there you go. You've got some soup, and it doesn't take long.
I love soup. It always turns out differently. It's never the same because it depends, like you say, it's like open the fridge door, what have I got? What can I put in it? And and go from there. And also, get stuff out the freezer. because you can use frozen vegetables in soup as well.
That's a very good point. Yeah, frozen vegetables are brilliant. They're very often cheaper than fresh vegetables, and some people would argue that they can be more nutritious because of that thing that they're freezing in the goodness while they're still really fresh.
Yeah.
So yeah, I make use of frozen vegetables. So yeah, it doesn't have to be difficult or complicated. Like red lentils actually cook in about 20. If you make a pot of soup in about, half an hour, you can also like fall back on the packs of pre-prepared vegetables. I think they call it like a stew pack or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Everything's already chopped up. If you want to make it really easy.
Yeah. I think, I mean, particularly if you're changing your diet for your mood to improve your mood, then you need easy things to do. Because if you're got low energy, feeling tired, feeling miserable, you really haven't got the to do something really complicated. So I think,
Yeah.
what you're saying here is, there are some simple things you can do, and you can batch cook. So you could make a big pot of soup and put it in the fridge or the freezer. Um, Maybe when you're feeling a little bit more optimistic and a little bit more energy.
And then if you put it in the freezer, if you sort of portion it into Tupperwares into the freezer, then on a day where you're having a really low day and you just don't feel up to anything, then you can just take it out of the freezer and defrost it in the microwave or whatever. And there you've got some nutritious food that should help.
Right, that's fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. I've got lots of practical tips and some of the science behind why food and mood are so linked together. So
Yeah.
thank you very much, Ruth. I've really enjoyed
Yeah, well,
talking
thank
to
you
you.
for having me. Yeah, it's been great.